Good afternoon, I guess. Well, I don't know that we have anyone here where it's good afternoon, so good morning.
Good morning.
Oh, oh, more and more people filing in. I'll give it one more minute and then we'll go ahead and get started. Please, if you have a chance, sign into the note sheet. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Is there anyone who's willing to be a designated note taker today?
I'm happy to do it.
I really appreciate that, Michael.
Um,
Um, let's see. New faces. I'm not seeing any new faces today. So I think we can hop right into outstanding RFCs. The only one that we have that is open at the current moment is a proposal to add annotations to Buildpacks. I am not seeing the uh, author here at the current moment. But I have not had a chance to look through this, but Sophie, it looks like you have had a chance. Would you be willing to speak to like a TLDR to see if anyone else would like to take a look at this or
Yeah, it's just about adding image annotations in accordance with the upstream OCI spec. And I think a lot of the fields that um, this author has laid out, we could probably pull directly from the Buildpack TOML. So it's really like, not that much extra effort for us to add these things. And he makes a great point in the RFC saying that, different tools out in the community actually look at these annotations and they're pretty standard for people using OCI compliant images. So we should definitely think about adding this if it's not too much work. So I am generally on board with this. Anything we can do to make the user experience better for people and kind of align with community expectations, I would say we should go for.
is there a discussion on how where we should do this?
I don't think so. I'm assuming this person probably doesn't have like a super deep understanding of how we're packaging up the build packs and where we're doing all of that. So that was not proposed, but there is a proposal for, where we should get the content from, which I think is half the battle.
Yeah, I'd be interested about this because it looks like there's like one image source or like one image title, right? Um, but like each of our build packs actually use like a conglomeration of build packs, and we don't ever. I don't know that we often have access to the higher level like Java build packs, like build pack toml in the same way.
Yeah, definitely take a look. There,
Yeah.
there are definitely some technical concerns with getting this set up that maybe I hadn't considered yet. So
All right, I'll take a look.
is the proposal to add them to like the base stock images or to the image that's generated when you build your application?
I think that this would be for the build pack images themselves that we ship, not the images that people are getting when they use the build packs, as far as I understood it.
Okay, so it'd be like the build and run images.
Yeah, something like that.
Well, it'd be,
So then,
Or like the
go ahead.
Node.js build pack.
Like that would be like the UBI I see, and also for the build pack, like the build pack images. Because I was thinking of the stocks, but like I guess then there is a container for all the different bits.
this, although this might be like for a given build package, like a build pack package. What I think they're called build packages that we should be adding, like in the same way that because we currently do annotate our stacks with things like image source and that sort of thing. Maybe the request is for the build package to do the same. In which case, it might make sense for us to actually go up to pack and ask for a feature request, because I mean it's something that we could add, but like as part of like build pack package, it might make more sense if they like read values out of the build pack toml, and then they could also do something like, you know, take the final checks, or this is a revision, so I guess maybe that would have to be like a commit-ish. I don't know. Anyway,
That
but
kind of makes sense to me if you're reading, if it's coming from the TOML file, right? Like, and that's what Pack's already reading then.
yeah. I'll take I'll take a read of this as well, and yeah, I mean anyone here should feel free to take a read and comment on it. Okay. Any other comments on this? Okay. We have two draft RFCs that are currently open. I have no update on decoupled dependencies from Buildpacks. I have been too busy on either side to work on this. I'd love to get a chance to work on this later in the week, but it's what I say every week. So we'll see how that goes. And then I have not heard from Jericho in a little while. Sophie, I'm wondering if I know that you've been working a little bit more on the um, multi-architecture work. Have you heard from Jericho at all about this RFC?
I have not heard back from him about the RFC. I'm starting to wonder if we even really need the RFC, since, you know, we've already kind of started working on this. Like the Java build packs are already available multi-arch.
I guess the only reason I would be worried about doing this RFC is if the artifact that we like, I think if the artifact that we build is just an inherent pack artifact, I don't know that I care. Like build packages just kind of look the same, if that makes sense. Um, so if that's the case, then I don't know that I care that much, because we'll just be distributing the same artifact and then it'll be pushed up into it. Like to a user that isn't worried about a multi-architecture workflow, I don't think that anything is going to change.
Right. Yeah, that's kind of how I understood it as well.
Okay. We might want to reach out to Jericho and see if there's anything that we need to look into further.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. And if there isn't anything else, I guess I should say, is there anything else that people would like to discuss in terms of open RFCs? All right. In that case, CNB updates and questions. I have heard rumblings from people in the CNB project that there is a desire to get an RC for the next pack release, which will hopefully have the support for multi-architecture building. That's my understanding of it. Available so that we can begin to use a more supported version. So Can all get excited. That's all I have from the C and B side. I think that there was a brief discussion in the, sorry, I got one more, sorry. There's a brief discussion in the C and B Slack between Jan and Dan Makuza around the function of libcnb and potentially trying to introduce some different standards into it. So if that's something that you are interested in, please feel free to go and check that out. I think that's it. Anyone else have any CMB updates? Great. Project updates. I feel like I had a project update kicking around somewhere, and now I can't remember it for the life of me, unfortunately. I guess maybe as a project call out, the other day, yesterday actually, I was in the Paketo Buildpacks samples repo. And there are a number of Dependabot updates that are just sort of open right now for various language families. So if you are a language family maintainer and have the time, take a second to go to the samples repo and clear out some PRs. I think the most notable ones that I saw were for there were a couple for Node, there were a couple for Ruby, and there were a bunch for Python, especially around poetry.
Okay, so that's starting in the samples directory versus specifically we're mentioning.
Hold on, I can pull it up real quick. Hello. So yeah, it's like updates to like Rails assets and Yarn React and stuff like that. It's just sort of general updates to the apps that are in the samples repo. And I guess if you are unaware, actually each sort of sub application is owned by that given maintainer family. So yeah, that's all I have.
It
Go
does
ahead.
remind me, I did want to ask, now being in the maintainer section, I see quite a lot of, like, there's a lot of PRs from the Dependabot updates, like, I don't know, could be like 30 a day sometimes it seems, and then they update themselves. And my question was like, how do people, are there any, it was kind of like, it seemed like a lot. How do people keep up with them? Or is that like, is it the Dependabot like checking every single day for updates? And do we
Yeah,
need them updated that often, right? Like it just made me wonder, like, what's the flow there for most people?
it is a daily update trigger. It's one of those things where it's like unfortunate. Like once you have, I find it's like once you have more than X number of repos where you're looking at with Dependabot, it's just it's a lot to sift through. Hopefully most of them are sort of being automatically merged and you don't have to do too much manual work, but yeah, it's a volume issue. Um Potentially cronning less is like it's an interesting idea, but like the reason we typically don't do that is like, we try and get high critical CVEs out as fast as possible. And, the number of times that a high critical like Go module CVE comes out is frankly pretty low. But it's happened maybe a couple of times in like the whole span of this project. But like, if we do that like once a month, all of a sudden the 9.8 is chilling out and, yeah, it's easier to sometimes just have the spam a little bit.
Yeah, I didn't have any like strong feel. I just wondered because it's like, okay, yeah, there's a lot. And I assume most of them do need like somebody to say like, yeah, okay, let's land this one.
Yeah, I think that I think a good number of them kind of just merge automatically.
Yeah, they should
Okay.
ideally merge automatically. The issue is that there's a bunch of, as Costas knows, there's a bunch of problematic Go modules that, because of the way we've done the SBOM, it's like a deep-rooted issue that cause, failures or linting failures because they don't play nicely with some of the other modules because of,
Yeah.
the way the code works. And then that's when things start piling up. So recently I tried to kind of help this by separating out some of those like problematic modules so that they don't get grouped in with the other ones.
Okay.
Now the problem is how do we have separate PRs for some of them, like stereoscope or random different Go modules. How do we figure out how to fix those issues? And that I would not expect, like the average maintainer to like figure out. It's a project-wide issue and we're aware of it. So don't feel like, for every single build pack you maintain right now, like you need to go yourself and figure that out. Like we need to as a project, figure.
Okay, no, that's good to know that like, yeah, it's because it's that one issue is kind of causing them to to sit there versus, the just actually being handled by the automation. So
Right. Yeah, it's like a really difficult problem to solve. So no one's gonna think, poorly of you as a maintainer if if you can't solve that for yours, because all of mine have a big pile of things that need to be addressed.
Uh, by the way, I was looking at this issue the other day again, and I realized because I had wrong impression about the modules that if you do the Go proxy on the acceptance tests, for example, script, then in that case, the PR will pass. What I mean by that is we don't need to put the Go proxy environment variable on the dependable level. We just need to put it on our scripts. By reading the documentation, Golang says that this is by default. The Go proxy is being set to go.golang.something, which is what we want, but seems like it's not. Yeah, anyway, I mean, if we put across all the repos the Go proxy environment variable on the acceptance test, on the integration test, on the unit test, etc., then the issue will be resolved. But I'm not sure if we want that because might someone do local development and hasn't set the Go proxy, and in that case, things will start to fail and might not know why, for example. Anyway,
I guess it depends on where you actually set the Go proxy, right? You could actually put it in like the scripts integration or something like that, right? And then it would
yes.
set it, and if you were running that script.
Yes. But I also didn't test it, for example, when you create a build pack, if this plays any role. So it needs a little bit more testing. So yeah, I mean, the main difference is I was thinking that when you install the Go modules, you need the Go proxy in order to resolve them properly, and it would draw this kind of resolution information on the Go sum or the Go modules. But eventually, that's not the case. Even if you use the Go proxy while you install the modules, the Go sum will be exactly the same. And by adding the Go proxy when you run the scripts, it resolves them. Anyway, just food for thought. I just found this. I wanted to share that the other day, but I didn't find the time, so I'm just saying it right now.
That's a really good find. Thank you for
Yeah, I
that.
mean, I was impressed because I'm used to packagization. I was like, the resolution would happen during the npm update or the go mode tidy, but eventually that's not the case. It resolves them only when you run go. Anyway,
Got it.
Gotcha. Is there anything else for project updates before we get into some open mic and / discussion topics? Okay, next up, open mics. Both of these are mine. First off, Paketo election season's coming up. Jan has served his 1-year term. Dan and I are still now halfway through our 2-year terms. So feel free to check out this doc. It walks through the candidate process and the voting process. And yeah, I don't know that I could put it better than what's actually written out here. So please take a look and get yourself involved in the voting process.
Is that seat for a particular role, or are all 3 roles the same, just staggered?
All 3 roles are the same. They're just staggered, so there isn't a full turnover at any given point.
Makes sense.
Alrighty. And then the final open mic question and discussion topic is also from me, and it is something that I think that I've been mulling over and talking about with a couple of other maintainers, but it's introducing maybe a little bit more automation into the project. Specifically, I think one of the places that I've been thinking about doing this and is around releasing. So currently, I think that currently all of our releasing is done by hand, more or less. We create the sort of draft releases, and then you cut those by cutting those releases, and then you wait for those to get merged up into the language family, and then from there you cut again. I was wondering, and I guess I wanted to get some people's opinions around the idea of doing something like a weekly cut. So basically, every week we run some sort of cron. If there are any draft releases available to be cut in any of the implementation language families, we cut those. And then at some point, maybe even automating it further and cutting the overall language family, but those are sort of then only 8 repos. I was wondering if people had any feelings about that, and if so, what those would be, or if there's just like thumbs up support for that idea, or
I'm definitely in support. I was actually planning on putting like a proposal, maybe not like an RFC, but like some kind of like written, explanation of some changes I would like to see. So maybe if I can put that together, I can send it your way, Forrest, and we can collaborate on anything else you want to see there.
oh, all right.
Definitely agree though. It would be a big help to have some of our releases automated.
How often, if ever, is it that like when people go to manually cut the releases, there's like some reason not to?
I think that it's not that often, right? Because our main branches are kind of evergreen because the PRs themselves have to merge a have to pass tests before being merged in. I think the reason that when Paketo initially started the project, we would just release every single time there was a merge onto main. And we found that worked because the branch was evergreen, but maybe it was a bit too often because you have to percolate all of those up and down the stack. Or not down, but up the stack. So that was a little too often. And so we switched to being very intentional. And to be fair, at that time as well, we were doing a lot more work where maybe you would, put in not a partial feature, but you'd put in part of a feature work where all of the stuff that you put in worked, and then went and fixed something else on the other side to then come back and do the final piece of work in another place. So you wouldn't necessarily want to release the halfway point there. But I think that personally, I feel we've reached a level of maturity where, we're not, kind of just we add features in a bunch and we aren't having to do quite the same distributed workload in that same way. So I don't know that I see any reason why we shouldn't just once a week, everything that has a release, cut the release.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I was just like, if the history is people just go and cut it and why not just have the machine do it, right?
Yeah, I think that I started thinking this when we started developing tools that allow us to, like a CLI script that you can just put in like a language family and it'll ask you all of the ones that you want to cut the release for. And I'm like, okay, this is just automation at this point. When it's me doing the automation once a week. So, yeah, I think that that's where I was looking at it. But if Sophie has like a larger proposal, then maybe we can wait for that and have an actual discussion over real proposals as opposed to me going like, wouldn't it be cool if we automated some X, Y, and Z? Because that's not particularly productive if there's going to be further discussion. So I guess I haven't heard anybody saying no yet. And I think that the other advantage is like we still have like I guess a control mechanism. Like if we don't automate the language families, that will be this sort of stopgap where things can percolate up to the top. And if there's a problem, we can go back down in the stack and search around. But like I said, maybe we should hold off until we have a proposal. Okay. Are there any other open mic questions or discussion topics that people have? Okay. Well, in that case, thank y'all for coming to this working group meeting. See y'all next week.
Thanks. Bye.